I approached Delta blues all wrong for years, and I don't think I'm alone on this one because I was focusing on copying licks and riffs, but I was missing the heart of what makes the music speak. And in this lesson, I'll show you 3 essential elements that help my playing get a little bit closer to that raw Delta blues sound. And these aren't just techniques, they're fundamental approaches that I've used in my playing for years now and taught to thousands of students who have finally broken through their Delta blues plateau. And to me, it all starts with a good riff. When you hear this riff, you might not think of it as Delta because it's not dark and moody like what we typically associate with Delta blues. But riffs like this supported vocals in songs like Charlie Patton's Pony Blues and Ishman Bracey's Saturday Blues, great songs. But even in their supporting role, these riffs didn't just repeat, they were really part of the story. We're going to see how in a moment, but if you want to play Delta blues, you're going to need some solid fingerpicking skills, and I've created a free fingerpicking quick start guide that helps give you the essential movements. So grab it at the link in the description, and that foundation is going to help you in everything you do in fingerstyle blues. But now, let's start unpacking this riff. I'm going to play out of an E chord position, but I'm going to drop down and fret the E note on the 4th string 2nd fret with my middle finger, and then the G sharp here with my index finger, which was there before, but I'm really just trading out that ring finger for the middle finger because I'm going to give that ring finger a job, as we'll see here in just a second. The riff starts out with the open 6, brush up top 2, then we do a really quick little hammer-on move from the open 3rd string up to that G sharp. So we don't have to move very far because we're right there in that position anyway. That's how we set up with our little mini E chord shape. And I am playing that with the thumb, plucking that 3rd string and just hammering up really quickly to the G sharp. Then thumb goes down to the 4th string to play the E. So we have this little mini riff. But we finish it up with this open 6, open top 2 again, and then this is where we get the ring finger moving on the G, the low G here, the 6th string 3rd fret, and then we're going to play the E again. So all together, right? And we don't hold that G. We start to get a real E minor vibe, which is totally cool, and you can let it hang if you like that, but I'm going to play that G and then get it out of the way. Loop that a few times till you get the hang of it. Then we're going to answer it. So we just changed the front part of the riff here. This is where we're getting the ring finger involved, this time on the C sharp, 2nd string, 2nd fret. And then doing that same move where we're hammering in on the 3rd string, 1st fret, and then the E. Really cool sound, especially when we put this together and kind of get a little movement going in our riff. Instead of just repeating rhythmic patterns, Delta players often crafted riffs that have a beginning, a middle, and an end, just like a good story. But crafting a riff that tells a story is really just one thing that we can do to play better Delta blues. To get that Delta sound, we've got to have a few elements that make it really come to life. When I listen to the old school Delta players, what grabs me isn't just the notes they play, it's how they play them. They don't just perform the riffs, they seem to live through them with some really expressive techniques. Let me show you what I mean, starting with adding some accents to the bass notes. Let's take our riff from before. It's moving and grooving, there's not a thing in the world wrong with that, but we can add a real punch to it by getting under the string and picking outward, away from the body of the guitar, and you get that snap, and we can really make this a punchy moment by then adding a mute right after it. So we get a snap sound happening. And when we apply that to just the 6th string, our riff will sound like this. Really wakes it up. But we can also get the index finger involved and do the same thing. Pull outward, get that snap sound happening over our E note on the 4th string 2nd fret. When we combine these two, it'll sound like this. These string snaps don't just sound great, they really add that percussive element, an element that helps the riff groove. And the second technique is a little more subtle, but it's definitely powerful. You gotta watch out though, because it's easy to sound mechanical when you do it, but to me, the Delta Masters just make it sound really good. Let me show you how to work it into your riffs. Let's focus on the part of the riff where we strum up through the top two strings, once with the C sharp at the second fret of the second string, and then once open. There's a little subtle thing that we can do here to really add some punch. We're adding quite a lot of punch with our pops. This is a perfect match for it. Right there, when we go up to that C sharp, notice it doesn't sound like this, where it rings out. We're getting just a little bite of that C sharp note. There's a little staccato happening there. And the way we're getting that is by playing the note and then immediately releasing. This is all about the fret hand. I'm playing the note and then immediately releasing, but my finger still is on the string. I've just released it from behind the fret. So hear how that first string rings, because it's open, but when I play that second string, I just release the squeeze there and we get that nice staccato sound. And when you inject that into our riff, I think it's a really good match for all this other punchiness that we've got going on. Right? Versus either works, so use some variation, but try to use this staccato in your riffs to punch things up. This isn't a technique that you'll want to apply to every single note. Remember, we need some notes ringing out to give us some contrast to that sharp, punchy attack of staccato notes that absolutely demand attention. It's a great technique and one that you should get to know. But one of my favorite expressive techniques is when we jump way up the neck and get the guitar to cry out. Let's take a look at how we can do that. There's so much goodness that we can get out of the train whistle, and you'll hear Patton using it in Pony Blues, where you come up to the 8th fret of the second string, that's a G note, and the 7th fret of the first string, this little shape, the G and the B. And we usually give that G a little blues bend, so we're pushing it slightly sharp to get that train whistle sound. And it works really well to jump up here and then head back to our open position where we're playing a lot of the main ideas in this tune. So we can incorporate them and switch back and forth. So we're kind of glued back to what we've already been doing when we get the open strings ringing and get this little move happen. But now we've got the train whistle for some nice contrast. And you may have noticed I just added some staccato there. You can really have a ball up here and come up with your own rhythm and put your own spin on this train whistle sound. It is gold, and we can use it for some nice contrast in our riff. Jumping up the neck like this really gives us some immediate contrast and emotion, especially when we put that blues bend to work for us. And all these techniques really help to turn ordinary blues riffs and ideas into some lively music. But there's one more element that takes Delta blues to a completely different level. Just when we think we know where the music's going, something unexpected can grab you and take you in a different direction. It's a powerful move and something that I think shows up often in old school Delta blues. Let me show you one idea that we can work into our study here. In the blues, we're normally focused on 3 chords for a song. In the key of E, that would be E, of course, A, and then B, which we normally play as a 7th chord, like this. And of course, we can play our E as E7 and our A is A7 too, because in the blues, we love our 7th chords. But what we don't normally do is take this B7, shift it up a full step, same pattern, to a C sharp 7. But you're gonna hear that in Patton's Pony Blues, and we can have some fun with it and use it to really create some melody on the first string. We might get something like this. It's a really fun way to go to a little bit of a brighter place and create that melody on the first string and really add a surprise element just by shifting what we already know up a full step. So we're taking this straight out of the Pony Blues playbook and coming up to a chord that you don't expect. We normally would go from our B7 down to A7 and then launch into a normal turnaround, but we're doing something kind of the opposite here, and it is so good. This surprise chord is definitely out of key, and it's bright versus dark. It shouldn't work, but that to me is exactly what makes it effective. It breaks the rules in the right way. And here's where things get to be a whole lot of fun. We can bring all of these ideas together. A riff that tells a story, those expressive techniques, and we can bring it to life and add a surprise that will really grab you. So I'm going to show you how to put these three elements together to create a Delta Blues jam that really speaks. And premium members, you're going to find the complete tab for this performance in the MyBGI library under lesson ID 488. Let's do it. Earlier, I showed you how Delta Blues players tell stories through their riffs, but the thing is, the best riff will fall flat if you don't have the right rhythm to bring it to life. And there's one simple thing that you can do to instantly triple your blues vocabulary without really learning a single new lick or move or riff. So click to watch Tuesday Blues number 483 next, and I'll show you exactly how to get this trick down in your playing. Until then, practice smart and play on.